In between the lines here, and Joe, we just witnessed an outstanding Fiesta Bowl. Miami finishes Ole Miss spectacular season, defeating them 31-27. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
Uh, Instant classic, number one. Instant classic. And Vaughn, first and foremost, before I'm a fan favorite of any team, and I'm a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket fan, I want a good game. I want a great game. And when it's semifinals, and I don't have any dog in the fight, so to speak, yeah, you know I was going for Miami because I picked them early. I was rooting for the ACC. At the end of the day, man, I wanted a great game. I wasn't saying that I was rooting against Trinidad Chambers. I wanted him to make plays. Carson Beck, I wanted him to make plays. I wanted it for Pete Golden, interim head coach, and I almost caught myself being a favorite or wanted Ole Miss to win just because of how Coach Lane Kiffin treated those assistant coaches, the running back coach and the wide receiver coach that he allowed to coach against Georgia, and he brought those guys back to LSU and did not allow those guys to coach tonight. But at the end of the day, Sevon Williams, Carson Beck show. Carson Beck show because that's why if you rewind it, if you pull up the tapes in between the lines and past history that you and I talked about when the college football playoffs bracket came out, I said that Miami has a great team, a really good team, and I think they would win it. But it was the caveat, and the caveat was Carson Beck. And all throughout this entire game, I was like, when is Carson Beck going to be Carson Beck? And a few times throughout that second half, it was Carson Beck being Carson Beck, Vaughn, because before that last drive, Carson Beck hadn't completed any passes over or past the line of scrimmage in the second half at all. It seems like to me they were protecting him and making sure that he didn't make any crucial mistakes. But at the end of the day, you played keep away from Ole Miss. That's what the Hurricanes did. They controlled the time of possession, and they stayed on the field on third downs, and Ole Miss could not convert third downs. I think that's the whole story of the football game that we watched tonight.
I feel like Ole Miss defense that was out on the field a lot in the first half ran out of
By
gas in that
design,
last
by
drive.
design.
They didn't have anything left in the tank that last drive, and Carson Beck made plays. In that last drive specifically, I feel as though the game could have went either way, but as you said, it was a outstanding game. Just the show I want to do, I do want to show a highlight very quickly in regards to what took place here. Uh, One second. As we show, we want to show the kick or the beginning of the game. Joe, what was going through your mind when Keywan Lacey went ahead and made that additional house call or took it to the house?
They needed a spark. They needed a spark right away. And remember now, it was second and three, and they did a great job. I'm talking about Ole Miss of double teaming up to the linebacker, and then Keywan Lacey with his speed and his elusiveness was able to take it to the house. And you had just texted me before that, Vaughn, saying, "Hey man, Miami owns the time of possession. They're dominating this game, and they're down." Oh, but when you texted me, they were up 3-0, but it wasn't a good sign because it felt like they were up more. And even at 17-13 at half, it felt like Miami was in control, that they should have been up more, that you knew something was going to happen. You knew that you could not keep Ole Miss's offense down the entire game. And that's exactly what happened. It's just timely plays, Vaughn. It's just timely plays at timely times that this game came down to. And it's very, very simple. Very, 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 very simple. And I'll tell you how simple it is, Vaughn. Third down efficiency. Miami Hurricanes, 11 for 19. The Ole Miss Rebels, 2 for 10. Okay? Turnovers. Miami lost that battle at -1. Penalties. Miami had 10. Ole Miss had just 4. But the key to the game is what you said, is that Ole Miss wore down up front in that running game and wore down up front in the pressure of the quarterback. Time of possession, Vaughn. 41-22 for Miami and 18-38 for Ole Miss. That's the ball game. And that was the game plan. And Miami rushed the ball, ran the ball for 191 yards on how many carries? A boatload, 51. So when you talk about a game plan that's executed the right way, Mario Cristobal, head coach, he wanted to play keep away against Trinidad Chambliss, explosive wide receivers, and to do that, you have to convert on third downs, and you also have to run the ball very effectively. And they did that. They did both. And let alone, Vaughn, you and I watched the game. Ole Miss didn't have any turnovers, but I counted that it should have been 3 or 4.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean, they
about
had
four drop
dropped
picks.
yeah, easily.
I was
So,
saying if
so
Miami lost the game, it was gonna be because Miami beat themselves with the false starts, with the penalties. We seen a couple
absolutely.
targeting, late hits, drop passes, drop pick. It was,
Yeah. And
and
on
then
the
I
flip
felt like
side, Vaughn,
sometimes that even though they was running the ball well, at times I feel like they bailed them out by not running it even more.
yes. And to your point about the drop passes by or drop interceptions by Miami, as soon as Ole Miss got their opportunity on the tip ball, they capitalized on the interception.
Right.
So it was all about making plays in college football playoff committee. They have to be proud. They have to be ecstatic because they are laughing back at us now, not you and I, but the general public. Because Miami is one of the last teams that had a debate whether they should be getting in. Miami was a debate over Notre Dame. Not Miami was a debate over, who should you go to another SEC team, Vanderbilt or Tennessee, I mean, not Tennessee, or Texas. Some of those teams outside of Miami because why? They're scheduled. But for Miami to make it to the national championship game, playing in their backyard, I think the committee got it right, my brother.
Well, some more stars, even though Beck will get a lot of the credit. Mark Fletcher was running that thing. Keelan Marion was going crazy. But Tony made a catch, and one of them that won't even count. That one hand
Mm.
catch that he made on the sideline was one of the best catches I done seen all year. But foot came down out of bounds. But let's take a look at this last play. As you can see, 24 seconds left. It kind of reminds me of back when Vince Young scored that touchdown against USC, running it in wide open. Nothing
You
they could
you
do.
Vaughn, you have so much football acumen and you know so much about football. When you play man to man, who are you not playing man to man against?
Quarterback.
Yep. That was a man-to-man defense we saw in that last play when Carson Beck scored. Everybody are locked up on their man, running, no eyes on the quarterback from anybody in a coverage responsibility. So that's what's going to allow a 4.8 40 or 4.9 40 and Carson Beck get to the outside like that because you were in man to man. And that's the dilemma. What are you going to call? Are you going to heat them up and send pressure? Are you going to sit back and play zone? Are you going to play man? And that's the way football goes. And Pete Golden, I think if he would say, can I have a do-over? He might do the same thing again as far as the coverage. He might do the exact same thing. So when you look at it, who's the better team? The better team is Miami. Overall team, why? Because quarterback is not better. Offensive line is better. In the trenches, I think Miami won this football game tonight, controlling the tempo, controlling time of possession, and Carson Beck staying on the field on third down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not much left to say. Well, I was gonna say, Joe, do you think Miami is gonna finish the job at home? Because is this the first time ever national championship been played at home?
Yes, because I heard it in the broadcast tonight, because that there's no other possibility that somebody could be playing at home. Nobody plays at Jerry's World. Nobody plays at the Cotton Bowl. Who plays at the Fiesta Bowl? Who plays at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans? So no college team actually plays there where they host bowl games
Right.
or they host a national championship. So luckily, Miami's the only city or host city that can host one. right? Of all the Rose Bowl, Jerry's World, wherever you want to go, that's the only college football stadium that you could possibly have that to. So Miami's going to make hay. And I was just talking about it, Vaughn. It's a little bit different, though, because the ticket sales are going to be split 50-50. It's not like Miami is going to be able to have a whole to host a home game and give their tickets to their fans, and then the winner of Oregon and Indiana get the leftovers. No, that ticket sales are going to be 50-50, and the rest is going to be left up to who else can buy it, but it's going to be no guaranteed. It's going to be the stars of the stars. Can you afford to get in there? But I
Oh,
do know
you can
that
guarantee.
sideline is going to be full of Miami Hurricanes, and not only just Miami Hurricanes, Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Famers in the Miami Hurricanes.
Some of the guys you played against, but I want to ask you, Joe. I thought when I seen this real time that this was a pass interference. Last play of the game right here.
Yes, and you know me and Skyler was talking about this,
I
and
thought
I've
this
never
was a pass
seen.
interference. The fact that the ball hit his hand showed that it was possibly catchable. I thought that was pass interference.
Vaughn, there is absolutely no doubt that that was pass interference. There is absolutely no doubt, Vaughn, if that was 2 minutes left in the first quarter, 2 minutes left in the third quarter, that would have been called. But what my son Skylar said, shout out to Skylar, I've never seen a pass interference called on the Hail Mary. Have you? It's almost like it's an unwritten rule.
But that
It's almost
that that
like
was a pass interference. I mean,
that
like I said,
that
going
is
back
that
going
is
back to the
Vaughn, that
Ohio
is
State
a
when we
that
called when
is
it was that wasn't a Hail Mary, but that was the end of the game. That was a deciding championship
no, see, that's a
deciding
bang
play.
bang. That's different. That's different. That's a bang bang. That's one on one. That's one on one. That's a little bit different. When you throwing it up like that quarterback Chambers just launched it up, and it's clearly a Hail Mary. And that's what they do at the bottom of the pile. That's what they're taught: grab, hold, scratch.
But that
And
was
why they're
clearly
taught
a
that?
pass interference.
No, but Vaughn, what I'm saying, you're right. You're absolutely right. But there's been a lot more clear pass interference. I remember when even Gronk in New England Patriots in a Super Bowl that was pass interference. My only point to you is that it's never called. And the defense knows this is never called. There's grabbing, there's, a positioning,
Look at this.
hand fighting. So they never call. He's holding them there, grabbing them, grabbing them.
See, I
That's
thought
pass
at first they
interference.
was gonna say okay because it was non-catchable, but the fact that the ball hit his hands while he was still in the end zone shows that he had a chance of catching the ball. That was he looking dead at it, and didn't call nothing. Good
Like I said,
game. You
Vaughn,
you don't want to take anything away from Miami. It was obviously an excellent game. The only thing that I could have wished for was a good game. So I'm happy. I didn't care who won or who advanced. The you been playing, and I thought the writing was on the wall at one point because a lot of the University of Miami defensive players start going down. A lot of them start going down. That on that defensive line, they was getting hurt. I seen the safety was banged up for a play. I think he went back out there. Somebody got thrown out. I think it was the other safety ended up getting thrown out for targeting call.
yeah.
Um,
And that's another thing, Vaughn, to the officiating and the calls and non-calls. We don't want to ticky tack because it was a good game. I thought the targeting that they didn't rule being targeting wasn't targeting early, and that's why Mario Cristobal was so upset when his guy got kicked out because the Ole Miss guy targeted and had helmet contact, and they did not uphold the targeting rule.
mhm.
So and it was helmet to helmet, but they say they didn't launch or it didn't trigger, and some of those intricacies with the rest knows, and I don't know happens. But you're right. At the end of the day, man, we got what we wanted, and I'm looking forward and going forward tomorrow night, Vaughn. I expect that Oregon can't match the physicality of Indiana. Oregon, and I know it's hard to beat a team twice. Everybody said that, including Kirk Cignelli, the head coach of Indiana, and Fernando Mendoza, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. But they are dominant. They're dominant. They execute like nobody's business. And if I had a redo, and I don't, so Miami, I'm going with it's going to be hard to beat Indiana. Indiana might hold the championship trophy up because the style of play and the physicality. And you remember what I said with the NIL? The NIL, the money, and the transfer portal is all good, but when it's even when push comes to shove, who are coaching? Who's the guys that are doing the coaching? And Kirk Signetti is a coach. So I'm not going to
But
renege. It's Miami all the way, in my opinion, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
I wouldn't. Indiana gonna see what Ohio State had to experience playing if Indiana advances, because you can't count nothing.
No, you're right.
You
You're right
can't
about
count
that.
Oregon out, but you playing Miami at home. It don't get no bigger than that. Now, what does that mean for Carson Beck? Being that Carson Beck isn't from Miami, it's not probably the same feeling for Malachi Tony and those that actually, born and raised in the U or born and raised in Miami. But if anybody can do it, if Indiana does advance, I mean, like you said, Signetti is the type of coach that'll take you to hell and bring you back with a victory. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm just hoping for another great game. If we can get if we can get a game like this one was tomorrow for Oregon versus Indiana in Atlanta, right here for the Peach Bowl. Oh man,
Yeah.
this is a great start
And
to a
on the
great week
19th.
of football.
And on the 19th for a national championship. But I'll say this prematurely a little bit because you and I are going to do another episode of In Between the Lines. And if you guys do like this, make sure you like and subscribe In Between the Lines. No doubt about it. Vaughn, what I'm saying about this is that playing Miami at home, if it's Indiana, that's right up their alley. They're going to be going there that week of or 2 days before, and they're going to see nothing but the youth signs. They're going to see nothing but home field, advantage, so to speak. Not know who getting in the building, but the festivities around it is going to be like they are going on a home or
A
business
road
trip,
game.
a road game, but they are underdogs. That's their whole chip on their shoulder. So there's nothing
Right.
new to them. So if they're going down there, they're gonna be like, hey, we're going in the Lions' den, we're going to somebody's house. We're not expected to win. We've been underdogs all our lives. We've been underdogs against Ohio State, Big 12 championship. I mean Big 10, excuse me. We've been underdog against Oregon when we went over there during the season on October 11th and beat them. We are comfortable being the underdog. Even Signetti, he's comfortable. So I think that, and I only hope I don't know this for sure, Vaughn, but I'm willing to bet that Signetti and his coaching staff, if they win, I'm sorry, I'm glossing over Oregon, but if Indiana wins, I think Indiana would want to be the underdog. They would want Miami to be the favorite and to have that little bit more of a chip that, hey, y'all still not confident in who we are. Y'all still is putting us as a side burner, side chick, because again they have to prove it. What if Indiana, Vaughn, gets there and doesn't win, meaning back-to-back college football playoff appearances, and even if they lose to Oregon on the national championship, what are we thinking different? Or are we thinking this is a program on the up and coming?
It's on the up and coming regardless because of the head coach.
Okay.
Like it doesn't matter the outcome at this point. Then they gonna show that thus far. They gonna got further this year than they gonna got last year, even if it ends tomorrow. So again, I don't want to just put Indiana in there. They gotta play the game,
Yeah.
but we'll see what Oregon, because Oregon been feeling like I told you before. Oregon had the easiest road. They should be well rested because I don't feel like they're gonna have a challenge in this college football playoffs just yet. So they already probably feeling like they want some get back, and my goodness, for Indiana to beat them twice, that would just show how much better Indiana is than Oregon. But we gonna see. And I don't want to hear a damn thing about the SEC anymore. That's one thing I'll say.
Thank
I don't
you.
want
You
to hear
said
nothing else
it.
about the SEC. Winston, KT, all of y'all, this SEC fans, just go ahead and have a seat. I know y'all been quiet. You didn't when the LSU fans didn't want to root for Ole Miss, but at the same time they did because that was the only thing they could hold on to for the SEC. It's over with. We don't want to hear about them anymore.
So Vaughn, that brings up another thing, and you know, I always we're never lack of content. We can always create content. We got content in our back pocket. I mean, we breathe content. It brings me to this. I mean, who is the best, or what is the best conference in college football?
Big Ten.
In
I've been
your
saying
opinion?
it. Big Ten.
Well, you've been seeing it. I mean, have you been seeing it recently? Or have you always been seeing
Man,
it?
I've always said the
See,
Big.
that's why I
Well,
don't
I'm
respect
not
that,
gonna
though,
say. I'm
Vaughn.
not gonna say I've always said. I've always said Ohio State. I feel this way, and
Right.
we've talked
Okay.
about this. I feel this way. We know Alabama is who they are. Alabama is supreme. You take Alabama out of the picture. The only reason the SEC remains relevant is because everybody hang on the back shoulders of Alabama. You got teams like UGA that definitely can stand on their own and they handle their business, but that's only since the 2020s. Anything prior to that, UGA couldn't say nothing about winning no championships. So you would just say the SEC is so good. When you had when you had Tim Tebow, Florida was relevant, so they got two out of there. Cam came and Auburn won the championship. But you have no teams that's really been dominant, and then you had LSU that gonna won a few here and there. But if you take Alabama out of the SEC and there's what, or Nick Saban, we gonna say Nick Saban because Nick Saban got 7 of the SEC or 7 of the national championships. Then you're not talking about no dominant SEC. And over the last 3 years, since even when Nick Saban was there, but really since he left, we've been getting Big Ten champions. That's the only thing I could say why I would not be surprised if Indiana or Oregon advances and wins, because it's been shown time and time again that the Big Ten show up in big games and reign supreme.
No rebuttal. No rebuttal, Vaughn. And I see the smirk on your face. No rebuttal. What I would say to you is that you say Alabama, but from 2008 all the way to now, it's not just Alabama. It was the SEC winning championship. It was who was winning those. And I understand where you're coming from, but in that span, in a 20-year span, it was mostly SEC. And you sprinkle in two for Clemson. You sprinkle in Ohio State 2015. You sprinkle in, you know, in the last 2 years, Ohio State and Michigan. But other than that, it had been the SEC. So it had been different SEC teams. So you were right about that, and that's why they were saying the SEC was dominant in the best conference because that's who's winning national championships, whether it's Alabama, LSU, or Auburn, whoever. But what I say now is that it has to change. It is changing. They have no team in the semifinals for what, the second straight year?
Well, they had Ole Miss in the semifinal. No team in the
I
finals.
mean, in the championship
in the
game.
championship, yeah.
So again, and the back-to-back SEC champ, I mean
Well,
back-to-back
this would be
national
the third
champions.
year. Because who
For
Michigan
real.
played in the championship? Michigan won the championship against who? They beat
Oh,
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, so they wasn't in it. There was no SEC team.
So my point is the fact that where are you SEC in terms of holding up the trophy? And now this is two. Then the Big Ten gonna knock out a Big Ten opponent. So a Big Ten opponent is guaranteed to be in the finals again for the third straight year.
But this is where it goes to when we're
And,
talking about college.
and hold on. And for the third straight year, maybe three different teams. To your point, maybe three different teams. The Big Ten can boast 3 straight years a different title holder in 3 years. So I agree with you that the Big Ten is the best conference right now.
But 3 different teams with the possibility of 4 because one game haven't been played. So whether that's Oregon or Indiana, either of those teams can win the national championship at this
That's what I'm saying. Being in the championship game. Being in the championship game is guaranteed. Is guaranteed a three straight different,
but I would say
different Big Ten teams.
I would say this as well. Prior to then, like when we talking about 2015, 2014, it wasn't no playoffs. So then you going based on who is the best, whoever the voters is saying is the best. So you didn't get no slugfest to really see who was the best teams. Now you got to play to win. And then like as much as I love Ohio State, I can't say that we was the best team this year, as we couldn't get it done against Indiana, who's still playing, and against Miami, who waiting in the national championship. Now, prior to this, if this was 2015, I'd probably still be saying that, and we would have only had one shot after the Big Ten championship to play in the national championship. So it's a lot different now when you got additional games to play and the SEC ain't never making it towards the end. You can say all you want. Oh, we beat up on each other. That sounds like a whole bunch of excuses because you added more teams. You added Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, so that's on y'all. Then Texas A&M came over before them. We don't care.
No.
When you line it up,
you should be ready. To your point, Vaughn, you should be ready for the big time if you go through that gauntlet.
Yeah, if you supposed to be so supreme, and tell me why the SEC keep losing all the bowl games or 60% of their bowl games against other conferences. It ain't supreme. We gotta cut that out. But my biggest thing was they only scream SEC because they team ain't consistent enough to scream their squad. If it ain't Alabama, if you LSU right now, you not saying much. You saying something because Lane Kiffin is coming now. Auburn would scream SEC, but your team ain't good. The same thing go with Florida. Oh, the SEC. Your team is terrible. So that was the whole thing, how I feel like the SEC got built up. It wasn't just, obviously they had national champions, but if everybody was like Ohio State and we stand up, or Notre Dame, not screaming no conference, we screaming about ourselves. You don't never hear me talking about, oh, well, Michigan did this, Michigan did that, or Penn State did this. We don't care what they doing.
Yeah, but you see, Vaughn, and that's the thing that I always get in discussion with you. You can't hold a conference bravado by yourself. You can't hold a conference, stand alone by yourself. So if you just say Ohio State, it's so. And I understand your dominance and the relevancy that you always tell me about is that y'all had 10-win seasons and y'all always been relevant at the top in the historic program. I understand that. But if you're talking about 2003, 2015, and then 2024 or 23, that's spread out. In between that, what happens when you're talking about conference? So you can't bring in conference. You can't bring in conference when you're talking about individual. You're talking about just a school, one school. You're talking about just Ohio State.
Yeah, why would I? That's like you should only talk about Georgia Tech.
No, but you gotta have those guys have a allegiance to a conference.
No, for what? It didn't matter. If Ohio State moved to another conference, I'd still be talking about the Ohio State. I wouldn't care about whatever conference we in. That's why the excuse has always been, well, y'all playing these schools. We ain't picking the schedules, and when we are, we playing Texas in the first round or first game of the season. It don't matter. It's the same outcome.
Yeah, but Vaughn, all I'm saying to you is that's what they're gonna measure against. Is that what are you doing, Ohio State, according to everybody else? You can't separate that. You can't separate Ohio State. Again, you almost want the mentality of me against the world. You don't want a conference.
But
it's almost like you want to be Notre Dame. But y'all, Notre Dame.
We don't have to praise the Big Ten because we can stand alone and we can talk about us. We don't have, only teams that talk about other teams is when they teams ain't like that. Our teams is like that to where we don't have to talk. Not to say that it's not other good teams in the conference. Not to say that Penn State didn't make the Final Four last year. Not to say that Michigan didn't win 2 years ago. Good for them. They finally got a national championship in 35 years of horror. Okay, Michigan. But I'm saying Ohio State, we can talk about, unless you talking about Alabama, which I shake their hand, get them the thumbs up. Anybody other than that, check that out. Thumbs up. We'll give that to Alabama during the Nick Saban era.
Who gives the thumbs up? We live?
I don't know how that thing just popped up. I'm not sure how that thing just popped up. But
hey, Vaughn, what I'm saying to you, Vaughn, though, what I'm saying to you is you are right. You are absolutely right. But that's where you and I are a little bit different because, and think about the fandom and you watching it, the only reason somebody will say the SEC, Big Ten, or ACC is because they're rooting interest. If you have no dog in the fight, you've told me that I don't care anymore that what's going on. I just want a good game.
You're right.
But I don't understand why you wouldn't be rooting for Indiana or Oregon to hold the championship because it looked better on the Big Ten.
No,
No,
that's
you've told me you don't
bandwagon.
care
For
about
me,
it.
that's
That's
bandwagon. That's
that's not
bandwagon.
bandwagon. That's representing the conference my team is from.
Man,
That's
no.
all. And not saying that you like those teams better than Ohio State, but you just represent the conference. That's all.
I believe you don't. There's. I was just talking to my wife, just talking to Jessica about this. It's like, listen, if your team is UGA, and then this game you rooting for Miami, you can watch the game, enjoy the game without rooting for a team.
Nah, you're not being
You don't
reasonable,
have to
man.
bandwagon and jump
You're
from
not.
this team or same way when you say, well, who you think gonna win? Who you think gonna win? My team out. I don't care who win. I'm not jumping. I'm not hoping one team win over the
That's
other.
not jumping though, Vaughn. That's
That
not
is
jumping the
jumping.
band. No, that's who you want. So most of these games, and this is something I'm learning about you that I mean it's pretty fascinating. So the majority of the games you watch, sports games, football, basketball, baseball, whatever. If your team is not playing, you don't want anybody in particular to win.
No, why would I
You
care? I
you
probably
don't
won't
root for
even check.
anybody.
Man, please.
Man, I got in every game I watch, I at least got somebody where I'm rooting for this person, or I'm rooting for this coach, or I'm rooting for this player, or I'm rooting for something. But I don't go to most games. I don't go into that somebody I'm not rooting for is playing. That I say I don't really care at all. I got a
Dude,
rooting interest.
I watch Skylar games. That's the
Almost,
only
almost like,
game.
Baltimore and Pittsburgh. None of those guys are my team, and I could care less who really won that game because it didn't affect me at all. But I wanted Baltimore to win because I like Lamar Jackson. And I want him to be over the hump. That don't mean I'm selling out to the Dallas Cowboys. That don't mean I'm selling out to the team I'm rooting for. I just on that particular game, I wanted Baltimore to win. That's all.
No, but if you know, it was different when Brady was playing. Like I told somebody the other day, I said I hung my jersey up when Brady hung his up in regards to being an NFL fan. So I don't
See,
care who wins.
see, you going for
I
you,
don't
see
I
you
don't
going to get to a fan. Ain't nobody talking about a
no
fan.
no I'm
Just
saying
occasional.
I'm not rooting for
I,
none of
I,
that.
I put it to you like this. I put it to you like
I'm
this.
rooting for
Eh,
Shador. How about that?
I
That's
love
who I'm
that.
rooting for. That's who because
I love that. Thank
I
you,
align my
thank you.
allegiance
Yeah,
with
I like that.
specific players, except
Okay.
for Ohio State. Oh, other than that, even if we talk about the NBA, I don't care who win at this point. Like I used to love the
Mm.
OKC Thunder when Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant was there. It's been too much shucking and jiving, too many folks moving around. Ain't no loyalty on either side. You just seen Trae Young just got traded from the
That's right.
Hawks after whatever he did to the Hawks. Somebody tried to argue with me today talking about Trae Young was a Hall of Famer, was gonna be a Hall of Famer.
What?
That's a different conversation for a different day.
Okay,
We ain't
okay,
gonna
okay.
bring that in.
I
But
can't believe somebody did that.
it's some real sick Atlanta fans that been drinking the Kool-Aid so long they don't know that they drinking on hen dog. They can't
Yeah,
even
right,
tell.
right.
I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, there was and I don't want to, cause they try to make it seem like I was hating on Trae Young, but I'm like, how does Trae Young how is he mentioned as a Hall of Famer? He has 4 All-Star games. They don't win. Like what is he gonna do to be? Grant Hill ain't a Hall of Famer yet.
Yes, he is.
Grant Hill was it was induced in Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. Grant Hills was
Well,
like
Rondo
2 or 3
not.
years ago.
Rondo isn't.
No, Rondo isn't. No,
And
no,
I know,
Rondo is
and we
definitely not.
looked up Rondo's stats. My point is, I don't want to go too far, but players, I'm allegiant to players. So if I'm rooting for Shador, I was watching the Browns for Shador. I didn't watch him when he wasn't starting. I wasn't watching him when he started playing. I was watching. If he get traded somewhere, I'm rooting for that team. Just like with Brady, when he was with the Patriots, it was die hard Brady and Belichick. When he went to Tampa, I was rooting for Tampa. And once he retired, I let it go too. It's like, okay, I don't gotta watch no more. I don't care who win. I just hope the games that I'm watching is good games, not blowouts, or I'm gonna cut the TV off and do something better with my time.
But you do understand that's not normal, though, right?
No, I know that's not normal. It take a extreme a
Because
lot of discipline.
no, it's not discipline.
Yeah.
No, it's not discipline. Because Vaughn, I'll bring you two scenarios. I'll bring you my sister Jess, and I'll bring you your niece Kaden. If they're watching any game on Thanksgiving, if they're watching any game on Christmas, basketball, football, and I say, hey, come watch this game with me, and they look for a brief second, and I say, who would you like to win? Who you rooting for? I mean, especially Caden, we'd be like, oh, I'm rooting for that team. I like their colors or something like that. They'll be rooting for a team. And if Jessica, I think, is the same way that if you put her forced to the fire and her team's not playing and she's just watching the game, like, hey, Jess, who you want to win? She would not say, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
No,
Boom, boom,
and
boom.
that's why I had to try and tell her we are
No,
Ohio State. We don't, because you will get confused.
no, but that
thinking
doesn't
she
mean
is
that
big of a
doesn't
fan.
mean that you're a team of somebody. If an arbitrary game just comes on, Vaughn. If an arbitrary game like tonight comes on and we don't have a dog in the fight, we can want somebody to win or we can root for somebody. That doesn't mean we disrespecting our allegiance.
No, I mean some folks can, but me, I stick.
Not you, I got you.
Yeah, I
But
stick.
you're an anomaly. You're an anomaly
Yeah,
with that.
well, that I understand
Because
too. Because
even
people
though
be
even
looking
though
at me
you didn't have
crazy
a
when
dog in the fight, even though you didn't have a dog in the fight, and I didn't have a dog in the fight, and most people didn't, the majority of people we talk to in your circle, my circle, and the people we know together, they would say they were rooting for one team or another. Very, very few would say I didn't care at all. And I wanted the same thing that you wanted, a great game at the end, but I was rooting for Miami. But very few people
my
would
thing
say
is
that what you said.
when your team win it all, that it means that much more because you stuck with them when they was down, when they lost. I didn't jump and say, "Oh, we won," because now I said, "Oh my, I was hoping Miami won." It don't work that way. It
No, you
doesn't
took
work
like a
that way.
champ. I was a little disappointed. I'll tell you this, and I didn't tell you before, but I'll tell you this. And I was a little disappointed that um, you wouldn't even do any more predictions. That's why I know you're sincere in what you're saying and you convicted in how you feel. I'm like, Vaughn, who you got going forward? You say, I don't care. My team's out. I'm out of my predictions.
It's
I don't want
over.
to even make a prediction at Indiana, Oregon. You don't want to even talk about. No, we do talk about it, but
I'll
you don't want
talk
to
about
say.
the game.
But you don't want to say who you want to
No,
win or
because
who's going to win.
I don't have a dog in the fight. So it's like we out
All
there
right.
now. If we were still in it, then I might be talking about who might win on the other side or who I
know
would rather face.
that's what you said. That's
But
what you
now
said.
it don't matter what I think. We out of there.
So I tell you this, Vaughn. So it's 12:21 now. We got on here about 12 o'clock. So I'm thinking send back channel tomorrow, right? Send back channel after
Oh
I
yeah,
think
no,
it's seven.
no,
I think
absolutely.
tomorrow is 7:30 the game, and then after that's over, maybe we do one right before or what have you. But definitely after the game. And I thought about it. How easy is it to do a halftime recap? Because
Oh,
I
it ain't no
mean, I
problem.
know I know we texted halftime, but we didn't get on live.
Yeah, no, we didn't hop on. But we can certainly do. What time is the game start tomorrow? Let me
Should be
see.
7:30 again,
Same
right?
time, ESPN, 7:30 tomorrow. So yeah, it is 7:30 tomorrow. Indiana 14-0. That mean they trying to run it 16-0. If they win it all, they be 16-0. I just seen something that says with the win. Shout out to my who sent this DJ. I believe he say with the win versus Ole Miss, Miami has earned $20 million for the ACC, and the Canes will keep all of it because the ACC allows their member to keep 100% of the prize money they earn in the college football playoff. The only power conference that does so.
Whoa.
So that's gonna
We
be
gotta talk about that.
that's
Hold
gonna
on
be.
one
Well, we
second.
might as well. I'm about to send it to you
Hold
so
on,
you can
Vaughn.
see it. Hold on.
Read that.
I'm about to
What?
send it to you so you can see it. This was posted by college
That's not a
football talk.
revenue sharing. They don't have to share that.
But I thought because they was the only team in the ACC to make the playoffs, the ACC been said if Miami does advance, they was gonna let Miami have it prior to them winning this. I thought that I've been seeing something that said that, but now that they in it, they gonna made it. Now they represent. Now they unlocked the 20 million because they gonna made it to the finals anyway. Look at the what I just sent you.
What?
Yeah. Can only imagine who they'll get if they put this money into the transfer portal or just better facilities. The U is back. Um, I'm. What do you think in regards to Ole Miss moving forward? The expectations for
Um,
Ole Miss moving forward.
it's gonna go back, Vaughn, to Ole Miss getting or teetering right around the college football playoffs, winning maybe one or two games in the college football playoffs, and that's where it's going to be because I don't see them getting the recruits that you should get with Pete Golden and that staff. So they're going to drop down just a tad bit because I do believe in the mystique of Lane Kiffin. I do believe that that's still his roster. No matter how we feel about Lane Kiffin, and I'm disgusted about him, how he treated the coaches and how he kind of acted after he signed, and some of it was out of his control because of the calendar, and some of it was in his control. But I don't see Ole Miss. I wouldn't bet my bottom dollar that Ole Miss will be back in the playoff next year. Matter of fact, Vaughn. Matter of fact, I'll give you a nugget. I'll bet my bottom dollar that LSU be back quicker than Ole Miss to the college football playoff.
That's an
That's my
interesting.
hot take. That's my
That's
hot take for 26.
that's a Hamilton hot take right now. All right, we gonna record
Put that
this
on
part. Yeah, we
record.
gonna record this part. You said say it again for the Hamilton hot take. Hold on, we gonna come back. We gonna revisit this. All right, ready? Say it now.
My prediction, because of Lane Kiffin going to LSU, Pete Golden taking over for Ole Miss, that Ole Miss is going to teeter around being in the college football playoff next year. Maybe win on one game or two games, and they will be relevant still. But I give LSU and Lane Kiffin a better chance to win the SEC, a better chance to make it in the college football playoffs, and I think they will win a national championship before Ole Miss will. Uh, and that's the decision Lane Kiffin was going after. And again, I will say this again. This is not a hot take. Lane Kiffin was rooting for Miami all the way. No doubt about it in my mind. Well, I would say 99.9% in my mind he was rooting for uh, Miami. No doubt.
Well, I felt that way as well. Um, yeah, we tune back in tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Comment your thoughts. Be sure to follow In Between the Lines page and subscribe. But comments what you think about the Fiesta Bowl. Again, finishing 31 Miami to 27. And for all of you Hurricane fans talking about W, y'all gonna be tailgating. What's going? Have y'all started partying yet? Cause it's not next weekend, but next Monday, 2 weeks from now, when the national championship is. And who would you much rather play in the championship? Would you rather play Oregon or would you rather play Indiana? Ole Miss, great season. Fans, you can comment what you thought about this season and how it was just a crushing loss. However, you should certainly be proud of your team. Again, this is In Between the Lines. I'm Sevon Williams, and our brother Joe gonna close us out.
Vaughn, what are you most disappointed in the Ole Miss performance tonight? What phase of the game?
They started off slow in the first quarter. I felt like they was trying to adjust. I would say Lacey getting hurt.
Um,
I would say, and he still came in playing hard, but it was. I feel like the offense had to change up, and just the fact that they ran out of gas.
right, and I would say to close, Vaughn, I would say where you miss Lane Kiffin at tonight is the fact that Pete Golden was distracted and his defense didn't play that well. So, but Pete Golden is the defensive coordinator, and he's also calling the plays because he was put in a situation. And this is only his third game. This is only his third game coaching as a head coach, and he's never been a head coach. Tremendous defensive coach. So now in the biggest game of his life, he has to have the responsibility of being a head coach and a defensive coordinator. If Lane Kiffin was on there, he could focus on more just his side and not that side. Not making it an
Well,
excuse,
I,
but that's a little bit of different philosophy that Pete Golden, this uncharted territory, when you see your defense get gashed on third down, when you
they,
see your defense missing 15 tackles, that you need to address that. But do you have time to address it when you have to talk to the entire team? You have to be a CEO of the entire team. And I'm not saying that that's a big part of it. I think that had a little bit to do with it, that he had so many responsibilities and he couldn't concentrate solely on his defense.
well, and it's almost a tale of two halves. Not two halves, but because the first quarter it was bend but don't break. The Ole Miss offense had negative yards in the first quarter. Second
Right.
quarter, Miami put up 14. The third quarter, I think Carson Beck might have had 17 yards, if that,
That's
passing.
right.
So the first and third quarter, Ole Miss defense did what they were supposed to do. It's just the second and fourth quarter where they gave up 2 touchdowns. So I wouldn't even be disappointed in my defense because again, they spent majority of their time out there on the field. It's just, if I'm a Ole Miss,
Yeah,
if I'm a
Vaughn,
Ole
what
Miss
you're
fan,
saying,
I'm probably thinking the time. Look at this, 41 minutes. What
yeah,
you
but
want the
that's
defense to
my point
do?
though. How did they spend that much time on the football field? Because they gave up Miami 14 play drives, 10 play drives. They busted a coverage in the first half with a long 52-yard touchdown. So a lot of those intricacies and details a little bit cost you. And I'm just speculating here that when Golden needs to, you know how defensive coordinators do. As soon as something happens and their unit comes to the sideline, they're right on their lap. They're talking. They're going through the iPad. They're going through the Microsoft, computer. They watching the previous drives. He's not able to do that. He's got to lean on other people to do that, and it's a little bit somewhat of a distraction. No excuses. Great ball game, and I'll end it with that. Man, I was highly entertained, and it's an instant classic.
Absolutely agree. Again, the University of Miami wins
The U
31-27, representing, and this is in between the lines. We'll catch y'all tomorrow.